Hi everyone, welcome back to Calculus with Jackie and Shadow. Today we're going to be doing some more algebraic methods for finding limits, and we're going to be reviewing all the different ways we know how to find limits. So let's get started. First, let's look at a limit with a radical, so with a square root. So let's say Gizmo is flying with this function, the square root of x plus 2 minus 2 over x minus 2. And what value is you're going to approach at x equals 2. Well, this isn't a problem we've seen before. If we evaluate it, it's going to give us 0. Because we have the square root of 4 minus 2, that's 0, over 2 minus 2, also 0. So 0 over 0. So we're going to be finding that limit as x approaches 2. And let's actually go into the graph for this. So we have this function right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by the conjugate. So if we know that, if we remember from algebra, x squared minus 1, that's going to be the same as x plus 1 times x minus 1. That's called the conjugate. If you have x plus 1, multiply that by the conjugate x minus 1, it'll get you that. And you'll notice that it starts with an x and we get an x squared. So maybe we can just cancel out this square root right here. So we're going to do that. This right here. Multiply out by the square root of this thing plus 2 instead of minus 2. We should make sure we do it on the top and the bottom. And as we can see, the function still matches. So now we get this. And this just evaluates as the square root of x plus 2 squared minus 2 squared. So that's going to be x plus 2 minus 4, or just x minus 2. And then you'll notice x minus 2 up here, x minus 2 down there cancel out. So just 1 over the square root of x plus 2 plus 2. So that's how you multiply out with the conjugate. And you get something that's a lot easier to find the limit, because now you can just direct substitution, put the 2 in there, square root of 4 plus 2. It's going to give us 1/4. And you'll notice that is, in fact, what it approaches on the graph, is it's approaching 0.25, 1/4. Now let's look at a review of all the ways we can find limits. So, rational function, j of x divided by s of x, that's going to be Sunny the quotient flyer, factor the numerator and the denominator. Radicals, we just did radicals, multiply by the conjugate, and that will create a difference of squares to get rid of the square root. A piecewise function, so that's going to be something like Jackie coming in from the left and Shadow coming in from the right. And look at the limits from left and right. If they match, then just that's your limit. If they don't match, the limit doesn't exist. Trigonometry. We haven't looked at trigonometry, but it turns out that sine of x over x, if you take the limit of that as x approaches 0, it actually turns out to be 1. And I can show you this. Sine of x over x, it does, in fact, get really close to 1. And I'll prove how that works later. But you can use that to solve it with tangents and with multiples of x in the denominator, Or you can use the algebraic properties of limits, like if you want to do a divide by x squared or multiply by something. And then same thing with absolute value. A lot of the times these are limits that don't exist, as we saw in the previous video. But you can sketch a graph or plug in values that are really close to the target value on both sides, because on one side it's going to be positive, on one side it's going to be negative, and that limit's not going to end up existing. But that's a review of all the ways that we've learned how to find limits so far, and I'll see you next time.